synth reamped version. Alright, so as you may have gathered here, what I'm looking at is transcribing a horn part for the guitar. So what I'll do is I'll go through that example I played at the start there with the tab and highlight any points of interest. In overall terms of the guitar sound, the more standard guitar sound that is, I went for kind of like a smooth compressed gain sound. It's a tiny bit of octave distortion on, and I put that on to try and mimic some of the harmonics and the kind of vibrant sound you get from a horn instrument. There's also some reverb and a touch of delay just to help fatten it out a bit. Now, a guitar is never going to sound exactly like a horn, and a horn is never going to sound exactly like a guitar. But you can get some quite cool ideas from looking at different instruments and sort of transcribing it onto your own one. So first of all, let's just take an overall look at the sound of the trumpet. It's got this really nice kind of punchy staccato, and phrasing's really cool and quite sharp. And this is to do with breathing with an air instrument, a brass or horn or whatever you need to breathe. So unlike guitar where we could just like hold a note and sustain it for days, you know, go away, have a cup of tea, that note's still there. It's not the same with a brass instrument because you do need to breathe, which is something I really noticed when I was transcribing this, because I was trying to sustain the notes and put vibrato on them because naturally that's what you want to do. But to make it more authentic, a lot of time it's to do with cutting the notes short. Now, having said that, in a kind of juxtaposition to this, there's a really nice, you kind of call it a glissando, but it's very fluid between the notes. So it's kind of sliding between them a lot of the time. And because we've got the frets, it's a bit more difficult to replicate that. If you had a fretless guitar, it might make the job a little bit easier. But because we can bend strings and do slides, and if you've got a whammy bar, there's a few tricks you can employ to try and mimic this sort of fluidity between notes. All in all, this combination of kind of punchy staccato but also fluid notes is a really nice combination. It's very pleasing to listen to. So because the tab's up there, I'm not going to be totally meticulous about explaining it because you can see the notes there. But what I will do is talk about the interesting things I had to do. So, sorry, before I forget, another thing you could do is you could try putting a wah in front of the amp to try and mimic the horn kind of mute that they use. I didn't find I had any luck with that, but you might as well. Also, you could try experimenting with your tone control and what pickup you want to go for, but this will depend a lot on the guitar and the setup you're using. Anyway, so the first thing here, there's this really nice raspy sound to the trumpet, and typically you'd go for like a uni bend, but I found that was a bit too dissonant to do. It didn't quite work with the first one. So what I came up with was this idea of playing the same note on two different strings, but bending it like a quarter tone, or even less than that, like an eighth or something, just to get this dissonance. Now, because of my floating bridge, I kind of prefer to bend both the notes, because if I bend one will go out of tune a bit. So you can see I'm bending the G string, but the B's still moving in pitch. So that's something to be aware of and experiment with, is if you want to bend both strings, or just one of them, that one, or that one. I thought this is something I've never done before, and it wouldn't have come up with otherwise, and it's got this really cool raunch to it. The other thing about this bar is that instead of it just being, it's kind of going meow, so you get this, so it's like two little bends in there. So after that, I'm doing a little shift slide to try and get that kind of legato sound. And everything else played very staccato. And then we're back to this, and this time I did just bend a quarter tone here, and it's quite hard to squeeze that in with the timing, so it might take you, because it's fairly fast the song, it might take you a little bit getting used to. Got that other slide again that we've done before, and the same phrase, and then just the slide again this time, and then again this little trick, then to finish off this phrase. So slowly all together, those 4 bars. Next on, what I'm doing here is I'm hammering on from the 13th up to the 15th, because there's this really cool little grace note there. So instead of just going or sliding in, just kind of hammer on. And then there's this really nice, super smooth chromatic run that if you're really good, you could maybe try and slide it. I can't do that, so I just hammered them on like that. I'm just using, you know, my 4 fingers there. So that bit there, I've got. Then we're just going back down. Now here I did opt to do the uni bend because it just seemed right to do. It seemed better than doing that one. So yeah, I've done that. Then we've done a little slide thing we're doing again to try and replicate the fluidity. And then here, because the note that they play is kind of in between here and here, I've tried to reference it here just to make it a little more interesting. And then that same slide we've done pretty much every bar. So I'll recap those 4 bars there slowly. So you notice that last note there, that's what I was talking about in the intro, it's cut short, so I'm not going, which we would be tempted to do, but sounds cooler just cutting it off. The next 4 bars I've opted to use my whammy bar. There are other ways around this, but I'll let you figure that out yourself because this is the one I've gone for here. So I'm holding down the 17th fret, and before I play the note I'm depressing the whammy bar. So I'm trying to pitch roughly the 16th fret, but it doesn't matter if you go a bit lower, and I'm just playing it and bringing it up. So whammy bar down, holding the note, bringing it up. And the same idea here on the 16th, but then going down to the 15th, just playing that normal. So depress the whammy bar, play the 17th, rise up. Depress the whammy bar, play the 16th, rise up. And then 15th fret. So this 16 you maybe want to be a little bit lower. Depends, you know, you can get away with shallow or a bit wider. Just depends what you prefer the sound of, I suppose. After that, we've got this really cool jazz run. So this is where the phrase "the jazz of Paulo Nutini" came from for me. So yeah, pretty straightforward. 13 to 14 on the G, 13 to 15 on the B. Then you got the 13, 14, 16. Down to 12, onto the B string, 14, 16, 12, then a little chromatic thing, just 14, 13, 12, 11, then I put a little bit of vibrato on that last note. Just on a side note, this last phrase, if you're downward pick slanting, so I hold on the pick like this, it will make the phrase a bit easier to play. If you tend to hold the pick like this phrase is going to be a bit trickier because you're going to get stuck in between the strings. So yeah, if you start this phrase downward pick slanting on a downstroke, it's going to make life a bit easier for you. Okay, so for me, the personal highlight of this is probably this this bend thing, as you may have gathered. The other things that are noteworthy, the other things to take away if you want key points, sliding in between the notes, you know, that kind of thing. Playing things shorter, staccato, less vibrato. And that rhymes as well, so it's easy to remember. These akin grace note hammer-on things, using chromaticisms to get to the note you want. Sneaking in unibends as well. So hammer-ons as well, I should mention that for the legato. And using whammy things, so rather than bending up to a note, kind of whammy into it. And then little jazzy runs as well. So this is one of the main things of the video that I wanted to get at here. So if you don't know who Paulo Nutini is, he's like a Scottish Italian descent pop singer essentially. And you think, well, this isn't really a place you can get inspiration from as a guitarist who's into sort of, you know, Steve Vai, Satriani and Timmins and all these kind of, you know, Malmsteen technical guys, your Paul Gilberts of the world, your Guthrie Gibbons. But it's just to kind of highlight, like I heard that line, I was like, oh, that's a really cool line, I'm just gonna go and learn it. And you shouldn't be like ashamed of if you hear something cool that you like in a song, it doesn't really matter the genre who's done it. If you want to learn from it, just go for it. So I suppose what my rambling there was trying to get at, you can find inspiration or cool ideas in sometimes the most unlikely places, or places you wouldn't even normally think to look. I'll put a link to the song up there and in the comments below if you want to check out the trumpet part that I've been banging on about here. So what I'll do now is just play through the whole thing, do it nice and slow, right? Cool, so as always, hopefully this lesson has been useful for you guys. You're taking something away from it, whether it's one of these little tricks I've come up with, or the idea of just listening to different songs to get inspiration from different places, or maybe checking out Paulo Nutini, or even using pretty ridiculous synthesizer type effects in your guitar to get this really naff 80s synthetic trumpet kind of sound. If you have learned from this, taken something away, enjoyed the content, please do consider to share, like, comment and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Cheers guys!